Welcome back to From Middle Class to Millions. I want to say that I would really appreciate it if you made a comment about this podcast. If you've been a long-time listener, I would love it if you would go into the comment section, make a comment about this podcast, and rate it. It really would help me. It would help a lot of folks get this podcast on their radar so that they can understand how to work with money. Many of you who've listened to this, especially my clients, know that most of the issues that we've been dealing with your money was lack of financial literacy. It was lack of financial literacy and it was lack of organization. And many of you are really great earners. You've made quite a bit of money over the years. And once you realize that, hey, now I know what to do with my money, I've seen it multiply rather quickly. And we're not just doing this for a pile of money to sit on. We're doing this so that we can have a different lifestyle, one that we really want, or maintain the lifestyle that we have because it's great. So please, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a comment and you could rate this podcast. It really would be very beneficial for me, for you, and for all our listeners out there who are looking for some simple solutions to money. Second thing that I want to bring up is for all of you folks that are on there listening and you have been listening and you've been like, yeah, I really need to work on my money situation. I've got to get my act together. Book a consultation. It does not make sense for you to sit here week after week listening to this podcast and not take action. It's kind of like when you start working out and you start paying attention to your diet and your health. Nobody's ever like, I should have waited to do this. You always think, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I focus on this earlier? And the same thing applies with your money. Your money needs time to grow. You need time to utilize that money to buy assets so that your assets will make money for you. And every single day that you wait is a day that you miss out on opportunities. And I don't want that for you. So please go in the show notes below, click on the link to book a consultation. They're free. Let's talk about it. Many of you haven't talked to anyone about money. Anyone at all about money. And I think it's really important for you to get that opportunity to talk about your thoughts about money, your feelings about money, the actions you've taken or the actions you haven't taken, and the results that you want to have in your life and all of the decisions that you make that are based on money so that you can have the money to do the things that you want to do. All right? So book the consultation. And now let's get into the show. Welcome back to From Middle Class to Millions. I really want to have a serious heart-to-heart about something that's been keeping way too many of you up at night. So if you're a Gen X woman listening to this, and I know many of you are, this episode is specifically for you. If you're not a Gen X woman, I want you to listen anyway, because eventually you're going to be of that age. And I want you to be able to learn from what a lot of these women have experienced. And if you could pick up some nuggets where you can either avoid or circumvent some of the things that have happened to Gen X women, that would be ideal. But for the Gen X women, I want you to really think about where you are, and I want you to just take a deep breath. And that's because there's been this article floating around about Gen X retirement as a whole, right? There's a lot of anxiety around it. And honestly, the comments I've been seeing are really heartbreaking. There are women in particular saying things like, I'm 52 and I'll never be able to retire. I'm 45 and I'm behind and I'll have to work into my 70s, or I've just completely failed with money. And I want us to stop it. I want us to stop it because you haven't failed. It's the system that failed you. And this is incredibly important for you to understand that you are not entirely at fault. All right. I'm going to paint you this picture. And I want you to tell me if this sounds familiar. You're lying in bed. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, some of you might be like, well, yeah, I'm up 3 o'clock in the morning because I'm perimenopausal, or menopausal. But no, that's not what's keeping you up. What's keeping you up is that it's 3 o'clock in the morning and your brain's doing its thing again. Okay. Once again, your brain's doing its dance. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that financial spiral that it does only in the wee hours of the morning. And you're thinking about all the things that you have to take care of and all of the financial things that you have to take care of. You know, your daughter needs money for her senior trip. Your mom needs some help with her medication costs because, you know, Social Security is not enough. It's not enough. It's not doing its thing. You got an email statement about your 401k and you didn't even look at it. You didn't look at it mainly because A, you don't even know what that stuff means, and B, because you don't feel like those numbers are large enough, and the thought of it like actually makes you feel sick. Meanwhile, the person laying next to you thinks everything's fine because he's putting in his company match, and your financial advisor, and I use that term very loosely, because either, you know, this is somebody that you kind of found from somebody else, but, you know, that person never calls you. You never hear from them. And occasionally, maybe once a year, you get some generic email from them about market volatility. What does that mean? No clue. Does this scenario sound about right to you? Like, is this what you guys are experiencing? Because I hear this a lot. From women in this generation. I want to give you a little tip that a AARP study found, and I think this is really interesting because I read this the other day, and it said that only 27% of Gen X women feel confident about having enough money for retirement. 27%. That means 73% of you are lying awake doing all of these financial gymnastics at 3 o'clock in the morning. And this includes folks who are high earners, okay? And this is whom I want to focus on. You guys, the high earners, the ones that are making what we like to call in society good money. But, you know, what's interesting is the study didn't tell you, and I think this is really crucial, what the study did not say is that you're not behind because you're bad with money. You're behind because you're trying to be a superhero for everyone else while you're being completely ignored by the financial industry. And your situation was so complicated, so overwhelming, so busy. You were going and going and going. You were busy. You're building your lives. You're building your careers. You're doing all of the things that you didn't even have time to think about finances, right? And for the last 20 years, you've been paying for all of the stuff. You've been paying for daycare, which, you know, usually costs more than a lot of people's mortgages in this country. You've been trying to save for college for these kids that are in daycare, but it doesn't seem like that's growing fast enough. You've been helping your parents, not only financially, maybe you've been helping them financially and maybe not for the full 20 years, but you surely have been helping them emotionally. You've got these student loans of yours because, hey, how'd you get the high paying job? Most of the time it's because you have these large student loans that seem never ending, right? And then let's add to that car notes and mortgages. And, you know, you actually may want to live your life, go on a vacation, God forbid, right? Because why not? You deserve it. And every single time you think, okay, no, seriously, this year, for real, I'm going to start focusing on my money in a way that doesn't have me just spending money, but actually growing, focusing on my money growing, something else pops up. So you put that on the back burner again. You put thinking about your money on the back burner again. You feel that little, nagging sensation in your body saying, you should be, you should be doing something more with your retirement. You should be making sure that IRA is investable. You should be doing a little bit more in terms of a brokerage account. Have you looked at an HSA? Like, you're hearing all these terms, right, spiraling around in your brain, and you think to yourself, oh God, like I just don't have the time, because juggling everything feels so heavy and impossible. And then you just slip right into shame. You slip into a shame spiral. You slip into, I should have started earlier. I should have put some more money aside. Other people have this figured out. I hear them talking about it. I don't even know what they're talking about. What's wrong with me? And then you stop. And I do want you to stop. But I want you to stop right there, because nothing is wrong with you. Most of the advice about retirement and investing and growth strategies with your money was written by men, for men, assuming a traditional career path that most Gen X women never had. They didn't account for a bunch of things. They didn't account for any interruptions for childcare. They didn't account for the difference in your pay gap. Like, the pay gap itself, let's be honest. If you're making less, you're contributing less. It's quite simple. Even if you had all of the tools and the financial literacy, you are contributing less because you're making less. And the secret part that folks don't like to talk about that has an impact is the mental load of managing everyone else's financial needs first. The fact that you're supporting multiple generations simultaneously, that sandwich generation, that has an impact on not only financially what you can accomplish, but your mental load. They didn't account for the fact that you're probably the first one to make this kind of money. And you're the first one to see this in your paychecks, in your savings accounts. You're the first one to be responsible for this level of earning. But that doesn't mean that because you know how to go to work and do your job or run your business, that you know how to, that money can translate into growth. When you try to get organized and think about this money, if you had moments where you even thought about it, if you had the capacity because you were so busy, you immediately thought, I don't know what to do. I don't know whom to ask. It's overwhelming. It's one more thing. And then you'll jump to, well, it's probably too late. And that's the learned helplessness talking, right? And the financial industry, they created a system that seems like it's an impossible mountain for you to climb, because wealth building, asset accumulation, it is completely spoken in a different language. It is incredibly confusing, and that's by design. It was meant for only a certain amount of people, only a certain type of people. Only these folks were supposed to understand it, be involved in it, and stay in it, get in it, and stay in it. It wasn't meant for you. Okay? It wasn't meant for you. So the fact that you find it a little confusing, the fact that you would turn around or turn away from it because, oh, I don't know, you had a million other things to do, makes complete and perfect sense. It does. I had this client, let's call her Sarah. And she came to me last year, And she was 49. She was divorced. She was supporting her teenage son. And she was helping her mother a bit with her mother's care, right? And she told me that she had $30K in her 401k. 49 years old, $30K in her 401k. And she was convinced that, that's it. She's like, I'm going to have to work until my 70s. If I'm ever going to be able to retire, I'm just going to have to accept that I'm going to have to work until I die. And it's interesting because she was 49 when she came to me last year. And I was like, you have at least 18 years to retirement age. You can work until you're 67. You have 18 years to go. That's an opportunity. That's an opportunity. Because not only was Sarah a high earner, but as I've said time and time again, most people can become financially independent within 10 to 15 years. And with a high earner like Sarah, well, yeah, it would probably take less time. So let's fast forward to today. Sarah has tripled her retirement contributions. Okay. She's paid off 2 credit cards. She had a little bit of debt, but she has a clear wealth map showing her exactly how she'll hit her retirement goals. And she realized when she was doing this a year in now that she could also shave off a couple of her working years. So instead of working until 67, Sarah can also see that she can work until 65 with enough money to maintain her current lifestyle. Anybody can jump out of the workforce at 65, but how are you going to be living? I don't want to jump out of the workforce at 65 and set you up to be living worse off than you are right now. We've got to either maintain it if you're happy with your current lifestyle, or we got to improve it. What the heck? What is the point? What is the point? But the most important point that I saw out of what happened with Sarah, she's happy to see the numbers. She's happy to see that the debt's gone. She's happy to see that she has a plan and she has direction and she's no longer confused. And she's like, okay, this is where I want to go. But for me, one of the best things that I saw and heard from Sarah is that she can swan her life now. She can sleep well at night. SWAN. Sarah can sleep well at night. She didn't suddenly, win the lottery or have a massive raise or anything. The difference was she got a system that worked for her life. Something that worked for her and not against her. Something that was simple, not complicated, right? And that made the difference in Sarah's life. That's huge. To be able to sleep well at night, know that you have a plan, know how much money you're going to have when you retire, know that you're going to retire sooner, know that you no longer have to say, I'm probably going to have to work until I die. And that was accomplished that was all set up within the 6 months that we worked together. Now here, only a short year later. Listen, folks, 2025 is almost over. We're in September. Think about it. Look how quickly the time is going. But when she first came to me a year ago, it felt like there was no way that she was ever going to be able to change her situation. And now in one short year, she's been able to turn things around. It's mind-boggling, but it's also simple. It's simple once you get started. So I want to talk about what I would do in this particular situation. Like I gave you the example of Sarah, but if you're listening to this, I think that there's some steps that you can take right now that can make a difference in your life immediately. And of course, like Sarah, within 6 months and then within a year and onward. So here's my approach. It's the same 3-step process I use with every overwhelmed Gen X woman who walks through my door. And this is particular to Gen X women because you have this illusion that you've wasted a lot of time and you don't have any more time. And that, it's all a waste, right? You there's nothing you can do. And this is why this plan is particularly for Gen X women. When I'm talking to my millennials, when I'm talking to my Gen Zers, the approach is different because you're at a different stage in life. They're different things that you want to do. You guys are probably not making the same amount of money as these Gen Xers. You guys probably are just starting off, or you're in the middle. So you've got to take this with a grain of salt and know that I'm going to come back to you, and know that if you have questions for your stage in life, that yeah, I got you. I totally got you. All right. So for my Gen X women, first, you got to get your money organized. Listen, I mean, that in and of itself is usually where people come in with accounts everywhere. They got accounts everywhere. They got a 401k from a job from 3 companies ago. They got a Robinhood account that somebody told them to open because Robinhood's good for, starting your investing. They've got savings accounts for everything you can think of. You're saving for a vacation over here, and you got Christmas savings over there, and you're hiding money from yourself over here. And none of this is because you're broke. None of this is because you're broke. This is what happens when you are first gen to wealth. Okay? You're the first generation that has this kind of income. So not wealth. Let me be clear. You're the first generation that is making this kind of money. You're not wealthy, but you're a high earner. So you're making this kind of money, and you don't have a wealth building system, because guess what? Where are you going to get that? Have you even heard of that before? And you're busy. You've got things to do. Okay. So yeah, your money's all over the place. It's scattered. You feel good because you're making good money, but there's something else you should be doing with it. You know that. And the thing is, this disorganization is so expensive because it's keeping you from seeing the opportunities. It's keeping you from making even those lifestyle updates you could actually afford if your money wasn't scattered all over the place. Like, I've had clients come to me who've had like $15,000 sitting in all these various savings accounts, earning nothing. But they also have credit cards, with interest there that they're paying on them. And it's like, what are we doing? You're not making any money over here, and you're losing money over here. It's like a double whammy. So once we consolidate and organize, then they can just quickly pay off those cards and redirect that money, that payment, into investments. That one move could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time they retire. This is the price you pay when you're disorganized. And that's why I think it's so important to do the second thing, which is automate your wealth systems. Automate everything. Because listen, again, you're busy. You think you have time to remember to move every little thing all over the place, every single paycheck, every single time you get an infusion of money? No. You want to automate your system so you don't have to think about it. It's one less thing. You automate your retirement. You automate your short-term savings. You automate all of your investments. All of this needs to grow in the background while you go live your life. I say this to my clients all the time. Set these things up. We are going to set them up together. We're going to automate your wealth systems together, and then go live your life so that when you turn around, after you've been out playing, after you've been out enjoying your life, that money's been working hard for you, and you can turn around and become rich while you're doing all the fun stuff. You do the fun stuff while you're becoming rich. You don't wait until you're rich. What? That just turns up the volume on more fun stuff to do. You do the fun stuff while you're becoming rich. And you're becoming rich because you're not disorganized. We got all your money organized, and we automated your system so nothing gets overlooked, nothing gets forgotten, nothing gets lost. We're not losing money anywhere. It's always cooking. Always. And the third thing we do is we align your plan with your vision. Now listen, none of us are just making money for the sake of making money. Like, we're not going to be sitting on a pile of money looking at it. That's not the point. The point is, most of you want the money to create the lifestyle you actually want, or the lifestyle you actually want to maintain when you stop working. You want to help your kids with college? Great. Let's plan for that. You're worried about, well, if there's going to be enough, we're going to make sure that there's enough. We're going to plan for it. We're not just going to blindly walk around. You want to take a trip to Italy that you've been talking about for 10 years? Let's do it. Fantastic. Let's make it happen. You want to make sure your parents are taken care of? You know in the back of your mind that most likely you're going to have to step in. You want that to be a surprise, or do we want to have that set up and be ready for it? Let's figure that out as well. The key is we need a plan for your actual life, not some cookie cutter, generic fantasy or a situation where now you're living like a monk because you don't have any money or because you have to save money and then you get to enjoy your money at 70. No. That's not whom I work with. That's not the individual who comes to work with me, because that's not who I am. I want you to live your life. I want us together to get your financial systems organized, to get your money organized, to automate your wealth system so it is working for you in the background and that you're actually planning for the life you want to have. You're not walking around like, I can hope that this happens. We need a plan. And we're going to align the plan with the life that you want to have with your vision. I remember having this client who came to me feeling exactly the way many of my clients come to me that are in this age range. I mean, she was about 52 and she was making multiple six figures. Okay. But the money was just, it felt elusive to her. It was slipping through the cracks. She had debt from this stupid, terrible life insurance plan. And, we can always talk about how the difference between, I should do an episode on this, the difference between how folks in the middle class use life insurance versus how wealthy people use it. And this is actually a really good discussion topic because it's just, like I said, this is a lot of first generational high earners, right? You guys are the first ones. And when I say you guys, I mean me guys, because I was the first generation of high earner. I was the first one to hit $1 million. And then of course, the first one to hit multiple millions. I get it. There isn't anybody out there who's talking to you. Right. But this client, so she was like many of like me, she made multiple six figures. And the money was just going out the door. And she had some credit cards, but nothing crazy. But she had regular expenses, but she lived in a very, very high cost of living area. And so even though, she was making a lot of money, she couldn't figure out where it was going. And she didn't talk to anyone about it. Because who are you going to talk to about it? Most of the folks around her weren't making the type of money she was making. In her social circle, her personal life, like her close friends or family, they weren't making that much money. And let's be honest. Does anybody want to hear about a multiple high earner complaining about how they feel like money's tight, or they don't know where their money's going, or they feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck? Like, what are we talking about right now? There isn't a lot of sympathy for somebody in this situation. But you know what her problem was? Her problem was there wasn't any awareness, right? She had basic skills in terms of basic tracking skills. Like she was writing down, okay, this is who I owe, because these are my bills, but she wasn't accounting for anything else, right? So she wasn't accounting for any of her discretionary spending. And let's be honest, she was living a good life. And why not? She was making good money, right? She was making good money. But the problem is she wasn't, all of that discretionary spending, she wasn't tracking that. So she wouldn't see it. She wouldn't see any of it. And when you just look at the list of the bills and the amount of income, explain the gap. Explain the difference there. Right? But having that awareness, when we looked at what was actually being spent, that awareness changed her life from that point forward. Because now she was like, oh, that's where my money's going. She got to decide if that was exactly where she wanted to spend her money and she was intentional about it. She didn't decide, oh, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to buy these things. She was conscious. I'm going to put aside this amount of money, and these are the things that I want to spend money on, and this is the amount that I'm going to use. And she felt empowered because it wasn't like at the end of the month, this kind of helplessness where it's like, I just don't know where it's going. This enabled her to make different choices for her future. And even though she was making a lot of money, a lot of it was disappearing, and she didn't want that to continue. So within months, she knew exactly where the money was going. She set up a fund so that she could spend money on the things that made her really happy all the time. And she turbocharged her investing. Because she also realized, hey, wait a minute. When you look at those numbers and you see that within a certain amount of time, you could make a different decision about what you do for your 40 plus hours a week, whether you love what you do or not. Buying that time just changes your whole perception of the world. And so, again, not suddenly making a ton of more money. That wasn't the case. It wasn't an infusion of more money. But because she could see where her money was going and she could make intentional decisions about it, that changed her whole perspective and her whole outlook. Knowing that you can be financially free will do something to your brain and make you look at money differently. This is what I want you to understand. Whether you're 45, 50, 52, it's not too late. Not even close. I mean, if you're 50, you still have 15 years at a minimum of earning potential left. And again, for you high earners, that's a lot of time to completely transform your financial picture. But if your money's scattered and you're wallowing in a lot of shame, you need a system that's going to work for you. That is not working presently, and you know it. That's why you're getting those nudges. That's why you're up at night. That's why you're concerned. And honestly, I mean, I got to say this because I do believe that a lot of people have heard this, even the ones that are making a lot of money and who are high earners. I still have to drill this home. You do not have to wait until you're completely debt free to start investing. I know a lot of people still think that they've got to wait until all their student loans done, all their credit cards are paid off, all of their, personal loans are taken care of. You don't. We can take care of that very quickly and have a plan to make sure that that debt that is of high interest is taken care of. But if you're waiting for that, you're missing opportunities for your money to work harder than you do. You're missing out. It's kind of like when you have money sitting in savings accounts not making any money and, here you are paying these high interest rates. You're missing out. You're losing money. I don't only want you to build the muscle of investing, but I want you to build the skills. I want you to learn just enough so that your money can continue to work for you and grow for you. I want you to know that when you learn that 401k skill with me, you learn that IRA skill. You also learn that college fund skill, and you learn that HSA skill, and you learn that brokerage account skill. And then we translate that into other skills if there are other assets that you want to purchase. If you also want to get real estate beyond your primary residence. If you also want to invest in small businesses. If you also want to invest in venture capital. We go beyond those initial skills because I want these to be transferable for you. no one understands where you're coming from better than I do because this is all new to you if you are a high earner and you don't understand how to build wealth. I know you feel overwhelmed. And for those of you who feel that you're behind, I get it because you were busy. I know what you were doing. That for the past 20 years, it's been like you felt like a chicken with your head cut off. It was like go, 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 go. You're juggling a million priorities and money's just one more thing. It's just one more thing. And who wants to look at a thing that they're failing at when they're trying so hard to do the things that are right in front of your face? You're not failing though. And you haven't failed. You were operating without a system. And in 6 months, I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to get a system. And we're going to put the system in place. And the system is going to align with your vision. The system is going to automate things for you so it's simple and easy. The system's going to make you rich. And then the system's going to make you healthy. And then the system is going to make you wealthy. Because you, in those 6 months, can go from financial anxiety to financial confidence without working more and without working harder. I think that if you are ready right now to stop with that financial 3 a.m. spiral and start following a plan that actually works for you personally, that works for you as a Gen X woman, that works for you as a high earner with your real life and your real responsibilities, I want to talk to you. I want you to book a consultation with me. Let's talk about where you are today. Let's talk about how you got here. And most importantly, let's talk about where you want to go. Because this scattered, overwhelmed, nervous, anxious feeling, it doesn't have to be permanent. It's just information that your body and your mind is feeling that's telling you you need a different approach. And you need it right now, today. All right. I want to thank you for listening. And as always, please rate the podcast and share it with anyone you know who uses money, which is everyone, by the way. All right. Take care. I'll talk to you next week.